Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be on the 5 things I wish I would have known about newborns before having a newborn. So keep in mind that these things are mainly just things that I wish I would have known because they're things that I've gone through with Iris. Obviously every baby is different. These might relate to you, they might not relate to you. So just keep that in mind, but let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I wish I would have known about newborns, obviously we always see, in the movies, and if you've ever been with a baby, you know that they need to be burped. But I didn't know that gas was the #1 reason for their fussiness, or at least I found that that's what it was with Iris. So in the beginning, and this is gonna lead into my second one, but in the beginning we would feed her, burp her, and then be on our merry little way, but we saw that she would still be really, really fussy, and she never wanted to lie on her back, and she was always just like arching her back and just always seemed so uncomfortable. And it was basically just because she had a lot of trapped gas. Babies trap gas when drinking milk, especially from a bottle. They get trapped gas from crying, swallowing air, which is something that they do pretty often because they're still learning how to breathe and swallow. So yeah, gas is very, very common, and if your baby's really, really, really fussy, it might just be because they have a lot of trapped gas. Number 2, I wish I would have known that burping can take forever. Now, this goes back to number 1, babies having a lot of gas. With Iris, it's actually gotten better now that we're closer to 2 months, but in the beginning, we would have to spend sometimes almost an hour trying to burp her because she just had a lot of she had a lot of trapped gas. At that point, we weren't using gas drops. I wasn't giving her gripe water or anything like that. But we weren't, at first we weren't burping her long enough. And then we would notice that she would be super fussy. She wouldn't ever want to lay down on her back. Like, she would only want to be in our arms, or she would only, she was just super uncomfortable all the time. And basically we realized that it was because she had a lot of trapped gas, and so burping her would take a really long time. It got to a point where, between feedings, by the time it took me to burp her, change her diaper, put her down, get her comfortable, she was already waking up for her next feeding. So we decided to get some gripe water. That helped, but not too much. And the gas drops were one of the best things that helped us. So if you're having issues with that, look into getting gas drops. We got the Little Remedies brand. I will link it down below so you guys can check it out. But yeah, that was really, really helpful. But burping can take a long time. It's not like you just burp them, let them burp once, and that's it. Sometimes they need to burp multiple times. Number 3 is that cradle cap can develop anywhere on their body. So I thought that cradle cap was just on the head, and when she didn't have any, I was like, oh cool, she's not going to develop cradle cap. But I noticed that the skin around her eyebrows and like on her forehead, it just seemed to always be really, really dry. No matter how much lotion I put on it, it just seemed really dry and flaky all the time, until I realized and looked it up, and she has cradle cap. Which is obviously nothing to worry about, but I just found it very strange because I always thought that it happened on the skull or on the head, and because she didn't have it on her head, I thought she didn't have it. But she does. She just has it in her eyebrows, or like the skin under her eyebrows, and right here on her forehead. So yeah. Number 4, and this one is mainly towards breastfed babies. She was bottle fed in the beginning, and with bottle feeding it was a lot easier to control. But with breastfeeding, your baby can feed up to way more than 12 times a day. They say that a newborn baby should be feeding, especially when breastfeeding, anywhere from 8 to 12, but they use that as a minimum. Your baby can eat way more than 12 times a day, especially when they're cluster feeding. She's had multiple stages of cluster feeding, and just recently, this past stage that she went through, we went like 4 days of her cluster feeding every single hour on the hour for 4 days straight. It was rough. but she did it. How? I don't know. But she did it, and we did it. And if you do the math, that's basically 24 feedings a day, because it was overnight too. So yeah, they use the 8 to 12 mark as a minimum, but just keep in mind that babies can feed a lot more than 12 times a day, and it doesn't mean that your supply is low. It doesn't mean that baby's not getting enough. It's just baby doing what they need to do in order to keep up your supply and make sure that they are getting enough to continue to grow big and strong. So if your baby's cluster feeding more than 12 times a day, don't worry about it. Just keep on going. And number 5, this is more of a fun fact, but it was something that I thought about a lot because I wasn't sure. We do have a cat and we do have a dog in our home, and I was super concerned about her developing allergies, especially being so teeny tiny. And you know, even though we clean our furniture and wash our sheets and stuff, it's kind of inevitable for pet hair to not be on anything. And then I learned that babies actually don't develop allergies until about 6 months. So even though we have a cat and even though we have a dog, bringing her home wasn't too much of an issue. And I think this is like respiratory allergies. Like obviously they can still have some sort of allergic reaction to something on their skin or something like that. But as far as like seasonal allergies, like nasal allergies and stuff like that, they won't develop them until about 6 months or so. That's what I've gotten from the research that I've done. Oh, and another one, I guess this is more of like 6, but yeah, I didn't know that babies suffer from congestion. I didn't know that newborns can suffer from congestion and that they can sneeze and cough a lot. I mean, it makes sense because their nasal passages are super, super tiny, and that's really the only way they have to clear them because they can't blow their nose or anything like that. But that was another reason why I was so concerned about the allergies, because she would sneeze so much in the first few weeks, and she was coughing as well, and then she started developing congestion. And I didn't know that this was normal for newborns, but it is. So if you have a newborn who sneezes a lot, coughs a lot, you know, you notice that they have a stuffy nose and you gotta be clearing it at least once or twice a day, that's perfectly normal. But obviously keep in mind, I'm not a doctor. So if you are worried or concerned, be sure to consult your pediatrician. But yeah, that's basically it for this video. Those are the top 5 things I wish I would have known about newborns. I feel like if I would have known about them, it kind of would have made the first few weeks a little bit easier for me, and I wouldn't have worried so much like I did. But I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please be sure to subscribe and like this video for more content, and I will see you guys in my next video.